She goes, oh my God, if I was with you, the things I would do to you. And he jerks her arm and he goes, let's go.
Welcome to this episode of Chattin With Staxx. I'm your host, Bill Staxx, and today I got PeeWee.
Just like that. You know, I was like, hey, that's Keanu Reeves. And he goes, yeah. He must have been shooting a movie there too, you know, because he wasn't in Matt's movie. He was there shooting a movie too. Minneapolis, they shoot a lot of movies there. You know, like the one with Arnold Schwarzenegger. They did the Kitty Garden. That one, you know, Kitty Garden teacher or whatever the hell it was. So they did a lot of movies there. I'll never forget this, Bill. We walk into the Skyway Show Lounge. It was a strip club right on Hennepin Avenue where I used to be a bouncer. And we walk in there, we walk through the front door, and this stripper's walking out with her boyfriend. They're holding hands. And we walk in and she sees Matt. And she's like, oh my God, you are so gorgeous. This is what she tells him. You are so gorgeous. Oh my God, you're so handsome. I can't believe it. I love your movies. I love you. Now, you know, come on, bro. If that was you standing there and me, or, you know, with your chick, you're holding her hand, you'd be like, are you serious?
I'd be like, go with him.
Yeah, you're doing this right in front of me? So she says, when she said these words, this was the end. She goes, oh my God, if I was with you, the things I would do to you. And he jerks her arm and he goes, let's go. And he pulls her out the door. And I kind of looked as he went out the door and real nonchalant. I looked back at Matt and I said, wow, I bet you get that all the time. And he goes, yeah, I pump up the tires, but he gets to ride the bike. And I never forgot that saying, bro. That was pretty good. But, you know, he wasn't a big drinker. We went in there. He was drinking orange juice. I can't think of his name. His name is Max something. He's another actor. He's a little dude that played in the movie Drugstore Cowboy with Matt. And they did that movie, Drugstore Cowboy. And he was a little guy at the end that kills Matt. You know, for some dope. He says, hey, I think his name was Baby. They call him Baby something in that movie. But those two are friends in real life. And he was in the movie that Matt was shooting, Beautiful Girls.
Yeah.
And he was in the bar while we walked in. He was just sitting there.
Max Pearlich.
Yeah, Max Pearlich. And he was sitting in the bar, but he wasn't as well known as Matt Dillon. So people really didn't go, hey, man, I know you. But when we walked in, we sat down with him. Then everybody recognized who he was. Yeah. But as for me getting involved in any fist fights or anything, you know, I can honestly say I've never ran into that. We did a bodyguard job. Me and One Kick Nick, we did a bodyguard job together for Flow Rider when they were doing a show for us called Tough Customers. Nobody picked the show up, so we lost out on that. But
One Kick Nick, why'd they call him that?
I'm going to say it just the way he says it. One kick, you're gone. You know, he trains a lot of fighters. He's got a gym. It's called One Kick Nick's Gym in Vegas. And, yeah, he's a tough guy. He's a black belt. You know, he trains these guys. He has so many UFC fighters. It's unbelievable. And he's in really good shape. And he's close to my age, you know. But he hangs in there. He's a good guy. He's a good friend of mine. He's solid. I love him to death. And, you know, we talk. We talk all the time. Yeah, they gave him that name, One Kick. He's got a little patch and everything on it. You know, it says One Kick Nick. We bodyguarded Flow Rider, and then we bodyguarded this rich guy from Panama that came over to look for like high-dollar cars, Maseratis, you know, Porsches. And we took him to his place. And nothing was on script, Billy. Everything was pro bono. You know, I mean, we did it all. Just say what you got to say. And when he looks at us and he goes, "Hey, man, thanks. I appreciate you guys looking out for me, watching my back." And I looked at him. I said, "We got your back here in Vegas." You know, I mean, like anything we said, it was, you know, just free, whatever you want to say. But it was cool. We were walking in, and the cameras with Flow Rider were like right there, and they used that on the A&E show where I put my hand on the camera and I go, "Get out of here! I'm wearing a suit." I always wear a suit. I got to wear a suit when I'm bouncing. You know what I mean? And I bounced the guy. I bounced for a guy. I bodyguard him. I bodyguard for him. His name was James Frey. You ever hear of him?
I've heard of him.
He's an author, and he was famous. Believe this, for getting kicked off the Oprah Winfrey show. Swear to God. He wrote a book, which was a bestseller, called A Million Little Pieces.
I've heard of that book.
Right. And it's about a heroin addict living on the streets and stuff. But Jim wrote the book about a fictitious character. But Oprah and everybody thought it was about him. So when he came on the show, she's saying, how did you cope with life? You know, coming from there, how'd you clean yourself up? And he said, "What are you talking about? It's not about me. I made that person up." Holy mackerel, bro. She flipped out. "I thought the book was about you." You know, he was in her book of the month bestseller, you know.
Yeah.
She said, "Get off of my show right now." She booted him off the show. And would you believe this? He got death threats from people over a book. A book, bro. So here's how I meet him. He is at the Bernard Hopkins fight, you know, at the Mandolin Bay. Bernard Hopkins was fighting. I don't remember who he was fighting, but he was fighting, and I told you I worked for the movie industry. Mm-hmm. So we were shooting a movie called Rocky Balboa with Sylvester Stallone. So they used the Bernard Hopkins crowd for the Rocky crowd. They had a guy come in, you know, with the robe on over his head. You know, the people thought that was Sylvester Stallone, but it wasn't. They weren't going to stick him out in all those, you know, in case somebody tried to attack him. So when he came out with that, you know, that robe that he wears with the shamrock meat on the back, he came out and he's bouncing around, you know, he's got his hands up. And they told the crowd, "Hey, you're all going to be in a movie." Everybody just shout, "Rocky, Rocky." So the whole crowd's, "Rocky, Rocky." You know. Wow. It was pretty cool. But anyway, getting back how I met Jim Frey, I'm standing outside in the back where the back doors are to the auditorium. And we could not go in there because, you know, I was a driver. I was a teamster on the set. So we got to stay outside. So he comes out with an actor that everybody knows now, but I mean, everybody probably didn't know about him then. I remember a couple movies he was in. Cole Hauser comes walking out with Jim Frey. They're having a cigarette because you can't smoke in there, so they came out to smoke. And Cole Hauser, as you know it, now he's on the TV show Yellowstone, who everybody watches. He's Rip. That's Rip.
Yeah.
So I came up to him, and, you know, James Frey sees me, and I got a bit, you know, like on my shirt right here, it said Hell's Angels on my shirt. And he saw me, and he goes, "Hey, are you really a Hell's Angel?" And I said, "Yeah." He goes, "I'm writing a book and a movie script about you guys." I didn't know anything about it. So I just went, "Oh, okay." He said, "Yeah, man, glad to meet you. I'm James Frey." And I shook his hand. He goes, "This is Cole Hauser." And I go, "Oh, I remember you from that movie Dazed and Confused when he was real young."
Yeah.
Yeah, when he was in that movie. And then I says, "I remember you were in the movie Pazzerati, whatever it is. You know, the camera guys."
Yeah, paparazzi.
Yeah, paparazzi.
Yeah.
I can't talk. And I remember him in that movie. And he goes, "Oh, yeah, thanks." But now he's, everybody knows the name, you know, Rip. Rip is the baddest dude on the show, you know.
Yeah.
James Frey says, "Hey, you do any bodyguarding?" And I go, "Yeah." And I got cards, and I handed him one of my cards. And he called me up and he said, hey, and I was working another movie when he called me. And he said, hey, can you come out to New York? That's where he lived, in New York. I'm going on a book tour, like 13 cities. And he said, let me know how much you want. I'll get the book company to pay you. And I said, man, I'm doing this other movie right now, James. I can't start off in New York because he went from New York to, I want to say, I'm not positive of this, but I think from New York to Jersey, and from Jersey he went to San Francisco. Me being the brother I am, I called up a member from New York who I love dearly. I still do. I don't know, what I mean, what his feelings are for me anymore.
Is he still a member?
Yes, he's still a member.
Yeah.
I stood up for his wedding. I handed his wife, I walked her down, handed her to him. Yeah. So I'll be in his movie, his wedding video, as much as every time he watches it. If he hates my guts, well, he's going to have to like being like his best man. But no, I love him. His name is Bart. I turned him on to the job, and he got paid well for it, and he told me, thanks, bro. He was always a hustler. He has a good job, you know what I mean? He does real serious work, like in the tunnels and stuff down there in New York. But anyway, I hooked him up with that job in the beginning. Then I said, I'll take over the last 8. So he did like 3 or 4 cities. And then I said I would jump in. It was funny. He calls me up and he said, James Frey, and he says, what are you going to charge me for daily rate? Now, I called one kick up and I said, man, what should I charge, you think? And he said, well, I usually charge, like, I seen him on a set. We did a Nike commercial at Lake of Las Vegas with Tiger Woods. One kick was out there for Tiger Woods' Bodyguard. And he said, I charge him $800 a day. Plus, all meals and everything else like that. And I said, oh, okay. I said, all right, I guess that's what I'll ask him for,
Yeah.
So I called James up and I said, hey, man, I got a figure. And he goes, well, before you say anything, I just want to tell you, the book company said that they're not going to pay any more than $1,000 a day. And I said, well, you know what? I said, that's weird because that's just what I was going to ask you for. Hey, bro.
Perfect.
Yeah, it was perfect, man. So, what was cool about it was all of our transportation was first class. We got off, the guy standing there with the little sign at the airport, Fry, we get in a limo. Oh, yeah, man, it was Uber Black, with the Suburbans with the tinted windows. Bro, we always had the best of everything. Man, we stayed at 5-star hotels. Where he told me, hey, PeeWee, anything you want, room service, whatever, it's all on the bill. It's all on the publishing company. I would just go there and stand because he got death threats. Somebody said, hey, when you come, I think it was pretty much Portland, Oregon, that he got this threat that somebody's going to shoot him. So I just stood right there by the podium with him, in case I saw somebody. And I take my job serious, bro. Even though it might have been $1,000 a day. What's the point of being a bodyguard if you're not a bodyguard, So I stand right next to James. I see somebody come out pointing a gun. I'm going to jump in front of him, bro. I would have picked a podium up and held it for a bullet shield,
Yeah, it's your job. You got to.
That's my job. That's what it is. I took it serious as a job, and I did it well. It was funny because even though I know the club frowned on it, but when I got in the club, it's like I said, I made the patch. The patch didn't make me. And I did whatever the fuck I wanted.